Hey everyone, and welcome to Notes from the Happy Trails, where I'll be sharing ideas, inspirations, messages, and interviews that I hope will help guide and inspire you on your walk on the happy trails. This is Sean Studer, and today I'm interviewing a very good friend of mine, Suzanne Finder. Hey, Suzanne.
Hey Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Awesome. And the reason I'm interviewing Suzanne is we were talking yesterday on the phone, and she told me about this amazing mystical experience that she had a few weeks ago. And I thought it was so profound that we had to share it. The implications of what she experienced applies to all of us. And very few of us actually are aware of what's really going on when we have interactions with each other and with the world. And Suzanne got a glimpse into the into it that's just there's no way I could put it or even thought of putting it this way. I I kind of had an idea, but she experienced it, and so I told her we got to share this. And so we are going to do this interview and share it with you. So before we get started, Suzanne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Suzanne Finder. I live in Southern California, and let's see, I'm originally from New York. I was a six-figure income earner selling advertising in New York City. Grew up in New York, in fact, moved to the West Coast, about 15 years ago, and have been doing a whole host of things. But one of the things I've been really focusing on is my personal development work. And that includes uh, as I mentioned, Psyche, which is a process of change, very, very quick subconscious change, as well as I study A Course in Miracles.
And that's how we know each other, right?
That is.
It is. That's how Suzanne. And just to let y'all know that you're listening, this isn't about necessarily about A Course in Miracles. It's something Suzanne and I have in common. We study that, but this is for anybody who is open to understanding and seeing what's really going on that we're not aware of. So, um, with that in mind, you want to get in and tell us about your experience that you had.
Sure. So I've been dating someone now for almost a year. In fact, we met here at my house a year ago at a seminar that I was hosting with David Hoffmeister. And I barely even remember meeting the guy, but we got into texting, and then we got into a great phone relationship. And it was my brother's wedding in Denver, so we decided to meet there, and that was our first date. It lasted 3 days, and it was incredible.
Hmm.
um, we continued to see each other, travel back and forth. He lives primarily in Texas, or at least he did. And I thought, wow, this is an incredibly wonderful relationship, and I think this man's going to be in my life for a really, really long time. Well, a few weeks ago, we made plans for me to fly out to Dallas. This is really kind of early on in this whole COVID-19 thing. I think there were two people on the plane that were wearing face masks, so it was pretty early. And I landed at Dallas Fort Worth, and something wasn't right. We were a little distance from one another. Just felt awkward. I wasn't, it was so subtle. I wasn't sure what was happening. And so here we are. We're driving back to the house where he's living, and his ex-wife, the woman that he had his kids with, staying with him. And I've met Jen many times. So that's fine. But I was really under the impression that she was going to be visiting her brother or her daughter while I was visiting with him. Well, that didn't happen. So the next 5 days got more and more and more tense. And we ended up having a massive blow up.
Mm.
And I was super upset because I thought, well, I don't even know what's going on. I am, all this old triggering, all this old PTSD from, early childhood. Some of that stuff was stirred up. All sorts of stuff about myself was stirred up. And I went home thinking, this relationship has just ended, and I don't know why. I don't know what just happened. So that's anyway the sort of the setup. Um, what happened next was when I had been home for maybe 2 days, very upset,
Mm.
thinking, okay, this relationship really is over. We're not talking. We haven't called one another. It wasn't left in a good way at all.
Right. Right.
And I decided I wanted to really know what had happened. So, as I mentioned, I live here in Southern California and marijuana here is legal. And a friend of mine, because I hadn't been sleeping because of all this, had
Hmm.
given me a little cartridge that you can draw on and get a little bit of THC. So I thought, okay, I need to relax. I'm not helping myself at all. I drew a super, super, super hot bath and had one little, maybe two little puffs on this little cigarette thing, vaporizer thing, and got into the bathtub. And I was very clear about what my intention was. I really, really wanted to know what had happened. What went from, 9 months of just ease and connection to 5 days of hell.
Hmm.
And so here I am relaxing. The water was so hot, I could barely put my toes in, and then my ankle, and then my shin and calf. I mean, it was so hot.
Hmm.
I had even boiled water on the
Ah,
stove to make sure it
you
got
were
really,
going to
really hot.
punish yourself.
Yeah. Actually, it's super relaxing. Once you get in there, it's
Yeah.
just super relaxing. So, about 10 minutes in, I started getting this incredible download. What I got was this three-dimensional puzzle. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid that there were these puzzles that you could put together that were, maybe, I'm sure they still have them, that they were three-dimensional
Hmm.
and all the pieces fit together. So it's not like a board. I love, the straight out flat puzzles, but this was
Right.
a three-dimensional puzzle. And I saw all the different pieces of the puzzle coming together to explain what had happened.
Hmm.
And I had become each one of those characters. I was myself, I was my boyfriend, I was his ex wife. I got into the motivation of each character, what had happened with each character, what each character felt, what
Hmm.
they were looking for, what they
Hmm.
had wanted to experience during this time together, and how we all got caught up in our crap. I got how I was the director, the writer, the stage
Hmm.
manager, as well as all the actors on the stage. And the way that it was delivered, it was so clear. Like, wow, I understand now really what happened. And I could be so compassionate for each one of us
Hmm.
trying to get our needs met,
Hmm.
but not having the language, not just all being so triggered by what was going on. And I was really able to let go
Wow.
in, I would say, 90% of all of my upset was let go after that
Wow.
experience.
Which
I
is a
think,
true meaning of forgiveness.
yes, to really be able to see and empathize and have
Hmm.
compassion for everyone on that stage, and really understanding how I was the one who generated all of it. I
Yeah,
was
like you
the
told
one.
me yesterday on the phone, you said you understood how you wrote the script.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's how I got, like, I was directing the whole thing subconsciously, right?
Hmm.
I was uh, the screenwriter. I had been the screenwriter. And it was all for all of our healing,
Right.
to really see what had happened. Not having to go deep into any stories, but to
Hmm.
really get that there were just these, well, in Course in Miracles terms, calls for love. Each
Love. Right.
person wanted to be acknowledged and misunderstood. But all of our blocks, because we believe certain things about, I don't know, ourselves,
Yeah.
our not good enough, our people don't understand me,
Mhm.
um, I don't know, the world is difficult, all these things. I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. I could see how in this play, this three-dimensional play, all of this had come together perfectly so that I could really take a look at and surrender all the old beliefs that I'm still holding on about who I am. Not all of my beliefs, but certainly by my
Right.
beliefs in terms of maybe intimate relationships and, kind of
So,
how I see myself.
right. So, did this experience also help you kind of brought up? Could you see a pattern throughout your life that came together in that one experience that you played
Oh,
over and over and over?
yes. So much of my early childhood trauma was showing up in this experience. In fact, I remember looking up at Mike during those 5 days, and two or three times I actually saw him with the look that my dad would get. He didn't look like my
Ah,
dad, but
right,
my dad would get these funky looks on his face.
right. And you knew what it meant.
I knew exactly what it meant, but here
Yeah.
was the thing. I didn't have the emotional wherewithal to go, "Hey, what's going on with you?" Because I
Hmm.
was so caught up in my own emotional trauma response, right?
Right.
The old patterns of feeling so misunderstood,
Hmm.
and so wanting to be protected,
Right.
and so wanting the connection and not understanding what was going on or how to ask for that.
Wow. And so, from that experience, it sounded like you really uh, have a good understanding of compassion and why compassion is so important, necessary, and a healing.
Yes.
Just because you can see all the parties that are playing these parts and understanding, even though they don't understand why they're playing the part and why they're doing what they're doing, what they're trying to get out of the situation, having that understanding that that they're how they're playing their part without knowing you can be compassionate for them because you've done it your whole life.
Yeah, and here was the thing that I got too, Sean, and that is without first identifying what was going on for me, like they say on,
Mm.
when you get on a plane, put on your mask first. You know,
Right.
if the emergency,
Right. Right. Pitfall. Right.
oxygen comes
Pitfalls.
down, right? Put that on yourself first and then
Right.
help your loved ones.
Right.
I had never given myself oxygen for these issues.
Hmm.
I was never self-loving around these issues. I was always really self-deprecating, like,
Right.
"What's wrong with me?" or "Stop it," or "Grow up,"
Right.
or I was hiding, right? Because
Mm.
I was afraid that by really looking at these things, it was gonna bring up even more trauma, even more of my past. Um, I know you know this one, and I'll share this. My mom died when I was just 6 years old, and my dad remarried very quickly. She died of a disease that really wasn't well known back then. And he was a young mover and shaker, and he married a very wealthy but really screwed up woman. And she was very, very abusive. And he wasn't home a lot. He traveled for work. So he never really knew what was going on. And I was always too afraid to say what was going on because that would really mean so much more abuse. And, there are lots of studies around what happens when people are abused. In order to protect themselves, they then align with their abuser and they continue to abuse themselves in a way
Right.
of protecting themselves. And I
Right.
hadn't realized until that experience of what was going on, that that's what I was doing.
Mm.
I
And
was
blaming yourself
abusing.
too, or
Yes, I was
yeah,
absolutely blaming myself,
yeah,
you know? And, as a little 6, 7, 8-year-old, you're you're not equipped to handle
right,
abusers.
right,
Um, and so it was a very, let's just call it, this bathtub experience was incredibly enlightening for me.
yeah,
Yeah. And I would say that there was so much healing that happened. Um, I had no idea what these 5 days were for. I mean, they were
yeah.
incredibly, incredibly powerful and awful. It was a reliving of the past because I
Huh.
had not forgiven them.
How many years and 5 days?
A
Right.
gajillion years and five
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Right. And you got to see it all. And then when you had that experience while you're in the bathtub, now you knew what it was for.
Yes. It
Right.
was for me to love myself, to recognize that forgiveness starts at home.
Yeah.
Love starts at home. And the Course talks about removing our blocks to love's presence. So we have all these subconscious blocks that are running us and
Yeah.
we don't even know it. So
Yeah.
having the time and having the willingness to be introspective and not self-blaming, um, it's invaluable. And what's all the more crazy is that I've been a facilitator of Psyche for the last 10 years, and it's a process by which we look at your subconscious patterns, and then you get to choose what you would rather have instead. So I've been working with
Hmm.
clients all these years, and even with myself, but I couldn't get to my own patterns
Right.
because, it's right.
Yeah.
It's like a fish swimming in water. You
Right.
can't see the water.
Right.
So funny enough, going into the bathtub, and
Oh,
really asking to be shown, um, and having that willingness.
that's the key too, when you're willing to ask, okay, what is this? Because you know about my experience too at your house, at a another workshop that
Right,
I had
with
to.
Gary and Cindy Bernard.
Right, right. And because I was willing to ask, okay, what is this for? I'm ready to heal this. It was shown to me, and and that's what's beautiful about your experience is you're willing to ask, and it's like spirit saying, okay, I've been waiting for you to, ask, but we have to ask. We have to be willing to say, okay, I don't know anymore. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what this is for. Okay, I'm ready. And spirit said, okay, here's what it's for. And that's an incredible experience that you were able to see, not just from your perspective, but from the other people involved from their perspective too.
Yeah,
Instead of, so that takes away any need to blame, because now, okay, I see it for what it is. My holy
right.
brothers played their part perfectly for me,
Perfectly
so
for
that I can
me.
also see right, and let
And
me do this for them by getting this and
yes,
sharing that understanding, and having compassion for them instead of anger.
yes.
That's healing.
And and recognizing that I wrote the whole script.
Yeah. Which is, for those of you watching this may not understand that, um, even though Shakespeare shared it with us, back whenever that was, hundreds of years ago. He talked about the whole world's a stage and we're actors on it, and we don't realize it. Maybe we're writing our own script here, and we're playing the part of that. And as sooner we can get that we're not only playing as the actor, but we write the script, the writer, the director, we're filming it. We're playing every part. We think there's other people that are playing their part. Well, who assigned them that character? Maybe we did. And if we can see it from that perspective, it's not about letting people off the hook for what they did or what we perceive they did. Not at all. But seeing our part in it, that, well, maybe we ask them to play that part for us, so we can see our self-hatred, that unconscious self-hatred that you were just talking about, that the guilts and the shames, a lot of it from our childhood. Now we see it coming through them. They're playing that part for us. Now it's visible. Unconscious, that invisible is now conscious and visible,
Yes.
and there it is for us. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. Are you ready to see it and heal it?
And I
Yeah,
really was.
yeah, it sounds like it.
I
That
really
willingness
was.
you're talking about, that's what it takes, is that willingness. So,
And
okay, go ahead.
yeah, and I want to say that I believe the most important willingness to have in order to heal is to be willing to be with ourselves.
Hmm. What a perfect timing for that, considering what's going on at the moment, right? Everybody.
Absolutely. Now, I
So
also
tell us about that.
understand, yeah, how scary that is for people. If it
Hmm.
were that easy, we would all be doing it, right? And
Sure.
this is where really good counselors, whether it's a spiritual counselor or whether it's a coach or a psychotherapist, where they're super, super helpful in helping
Yeah.
us see what's really there. Um, and I'm also just a huge fan of a process called Psyche, psychology, kinesiology, that lets you change that really quickly, to eliminate those blocks really quickly. I would recommend anyone who is willing to take a look at those blocks, find a partner.
Hmm.
Find a
Mhm.
partner that um, is great at listening, who won't give you feedback. It's not about giving you feedback.
Oh, that's true. Right.
It's
Not
about
not
having,
trying to fix it, right?
yeah, there is no
Yeah.
fixing. The only person who can fix is the person with the thought, with the belief. No one else can. We can be guided, we can be facilitated, and in that case, I would recommend seeking out a professional,
Yeah.
whether it's a psyche facilitator or, like I said, a therapist, what have you. Um, the willingness to look within and be compassionate with ourselves, first and foremost, so that we can see the world through the eyes of compassion with
Yeah.
others.
Instead of
See,
the eyes of fear, right?
yeah, the eyes of fear, the eyes of anger,
Mhm.
jealousy, worry, any sort of anxiety, even sadness. Yes, it's
Mhm.
okay. Here's the scoop: it's okay to feel what you're feeling. The challenge happens when we just keep repeating that pattern
Yeah.
over and over and it owns us. We're not owning it,
Right.
right? So, even for me as an example, okay, I've been running that pattern. I'm in my late 50s. Let's just say I've been running my pattern for 50 years.
Mhm.
Very well familiar with it, but not willing to look at it. That's a very, very, key distinction. And then willing to love myself, hold myself with love the way that, for example, a mom would hold a baby.
Right.
If we have pets, the way we take care of our little pets. See ourselves that way. Be willing, even if it's just for a few minutes, to go, oh, I get it. I'm getting scared.
Hmm.
Naming it, and then asking for help. The course would say, look at it with our higher self. Some people call that
Right.
Holy Spirit.
Guide,
Some people
whatever.
yeah,
Right.
Jesus, whatever. But really being willing to look at it through the eyes of love. And then we become the eyes of love as we shed those blocks. So we can be more loving, more authentic, more vulnerable, more real. We can experience our emotions without them recycling over and over and over. Um, and people just want to feel that level of trust and connection. So when I can be super
Yeah.
authentic about what's going on, people around me feel like, oh, I can trust her. She really doesn't hide anything.
Right.
And that's what we all want to get to. So therefore, we could become a lot more closer with each other. I don't know if that was English, but um, we can really enjoy loving each other, caring for each other when we're hurt, when we're happy, whatever, being there to share those experiences. I think it's the Bible that told us, and the Course does too. We go into the ark, we go into heaven two by two.
Mm-hmm.
We find ourselves through these wonderful relationships where we feel and experience love and compassion.
Right. Where two or more are gathered. That wasn't talking about two or more bodies. We're
Right.
really talking about two or more gathered at the level of spirit, level of the higher holy mind, where we recognize each other as brothers, as spirit, and not as separate individuals.
And I would say that if your best friend were in trouble, afraid, I don't know, something bizarre had happened, right? And they're really afraid of what might happen next. When we feel like calm and peaceful, we can then be a loving presence to demonstrate that kindness, that compassion, that
Mhm.
empathy. And we are the model to which they want to get closer. We don't have to tell them what to do or how to be, but just our presence, being there, um, representing our higher
Demonstrating it.
holy self, right?
Right.
Representing that love. That's where that's where the healing, I think, takes place. If
That's a
everything were
great
hunky
point.
dory all the time, we wouldn't be having
Yeah.
this conversation, right?
That's true.
The
Yeah.
world is a stage of f ups.
Bad actors.
Yeah, bad
Right.
screenwriting, so we think.
Well, and if we're willing to look at it like you're pointing out, we see that, well, you know what, I am doing this to myself. If you keep finding yourself in the same situations over and over, well, like that saying says, wherever we go, there you are. So who's the director, the writer, that's going on there? And so it's so important that what you're pointing out here is that willingness to really just step back. And what you mentioned a little while ago about just recognize we're not doing this alone. If you think you're alone, it's it's going to be impossible to do on your
Right.
but just recognize we're never alone, and be willing to ask for help from whoever, whether it be one of your guides, whatever you call your guides. It could be a Jesus, a Buddha, a Krishna, spirit, universe. The name is not important. It's one source, it's one voice, it's one spirit, and we're all part of this one life, this one world, one mind. That's why we all share it. This is a shared experience, right?
Yes.
So we're sharing. I mean, that's why we interact. What you described earlier about your experience with all three of you there, that's a shared experience.
Yes.
We're all connected in that way, but we're doing this for each other on a level that we're not aware of when we're believe that we're separate and having to defend our separateness, our individuality. This is who I am. I must defend this at all costs. That's an
Yes.
ego thing, right?
Right. So
So,
one thing that we didn't mention is we've both studied with Jennifer Hadley, who
right.
is a master teacher of the course as well. And both Sean and I are certified as forgiveness counselors.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So, if you're needing help, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook.
Where can they
Uh,
find you?
Facebook, it's just Suzanne Finder. You'll see
Okay.
my photo there. And Sean, if someone wants to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Well, I'm gonna put this. They can do it on Facebook also, Sean Studer. I'm gonna put this on my YouTube channel. So I'm actually going to change the name of it to the Happy Trails. And yeah, those two for right now. I'll put the links to your Facebook
Great,
page on this video below,
great.
and so we can link it up to both those also, so they can find us there.
Yep.
And
So
so going,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say going forward for you, how has this changed your life, and how will you interact, and how you perceive your interactions with
Mm.
others?
What's so cool is I feel so much freer on a level that I can't even describe. Am I completely done with all of my shtick? Of course not. I still have more work, but I have a lot more trust that
Mhm.
whatever shows up, whatever comes my way, I can first be kind to myself with whatever's going on. I can reach out to a friend or a loved one who I trust. And I
Right.
can reach out to my higher self, Holy Spirit. Some people reach to Jesus, whatever it is for you, Buddha, um,
Right.
to ask to see the situation differently. So I would say, in a weird way, um, I am more prepared than ever to handle anything that comes my way
Mm.
with equanimity, with peace. Far, far, far more peaceful. So if I had a peace meter, right,
Yeah.
where my natural inclination um, would maybe be a 5, right now it feels like I'm living in the world of 8, uh,
Oh,
8 on the
nice.
peace scale. hmm So it
Right.
really helped me leaps and bounds. Feeling just more together, more
Right.
worthy, more, yeah, everything's okay. Even though it's crazy out there. It's crazy with
It
the
is.
virus. It's crazy with, politics. It's just a crazy
Right.
world. Um, but I'm a lot more peaceful, more loving, more accepting. Will I get triggered? Of course I will.
Yep.
Is this an
We all
ongoing
will.
process?
Right.
Of course it is.
Yep.
But we do it little bits by little bits, and those bits grow as we do the
Right.
work.
They
We
build
we
on each other.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So as long as we keep asking, what is it for? Just be willing to ask that question, as you mentioned a little while ago. Just what is it for? That's what you did. You open when we do that, we open the door for spirit to come in and help us to see it as it is, not how we wish it to be. And in that is the healing, right?
Yes, yes. To see that you're the actors, all of the actors,
Right,
that you wrote the entire dang screenplay,
right,
that you were the director, you were the producer, you were the stagehand, and that
right,
everyone, because they're all me, right? Everyone wants to be loved and wants to be loving and wants to feel connected and worthy and happy. And, we're all the same in that way.
yeah, we
No
are, right,
matter no
right.
matter what our politics are, no matter what our skin color
Hmm.
is, it doesn't, whatever our socioeconomic condition is,
Right,
we all want to feel appreciated and recognized and considered. And we want to be treated kindly with respect, and we ultimately also want to do the same for others, because we're
right,
all one. We really are all one, and that's what this spiritual, um, you know mystical experience showed me.
right,
Everyone that I was with was me
right. In a different form,
in a different form.
right? Because we share the same mind, the same life. How can it not be us? Not the when you're talking about it, you're not saying your personality, body, self. You're speaking at the level of spirit that everybody is you,
Yes,
and they would, and it's true for them too. What we may perceive as a separate individual is not separate at all in truth.
yes,
So
yes.
we just have to keep remembering to ask, what is it for? So okay. In closing, is there anything you'd like to say, share before we sign off here?
Well, I'm really glad we had a chance to have this talk.
Yeah,
um, my goal is to really help as many people as I can
sure.
recognize that they're far, far more than what they think they are, who they think they are, that they are far greater, far more beautiful and capable of loving and being loved and connection than they ever imagined.
Right.
And so, if they need help, there's
Contact
help.
you.
There's absolutely,
Awesome.
or a number of professionals, but there's help. You're never
Right.
alone. You are
Never
loved.
alone. That's
You
that's
are
probably
loved.
one of the most important points we both want to make is you're never alone. And it's a very, very clever trick of the ego to make you think that you're alone. You're not.
Yeah.
Just call on that that help, and it will show up without it. Just be willing.
Just be
So I
willing
love that.
and reach out to
Yeah.
someone that you feel really, really safe with. And if you
Hmm.
don't have friends or family, then reach out to a professional. We really
Right.
are here to help you.
Right. Awesome. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for sharing this incredible story. It's that's one thing also I would encourage the rest of you to share your stories. Your experiences are necessary for it, because we all share. By sharing your stories and your experiences, a lot of people are having the same kind of experiences. That the form may be a little different, but the content is still the same. And so share it, because people need to hear it. People need to know there's a way out.
There
And
is
bias
a way
is.
out. There
There is.
is. We promise there's a way out.
Right.
There's a way
There
out
is
of
a
this
way out.
craziness.
It
It's
may
really
seem like, right. This seems like a nightmare, but there's a way to wake up from it.
right.
So
All it takes is one thing. We
one thing.
change our perception and we change our
Yep.
life.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Most
Change it. Right. Change your mind.
change your
That's all
mind
you got to do.
and recognize that most of that change has to happen at a subconscious level.
Hmm. Right. We're not
So
aware of a lot of that that's going on.
yeah,
Right.
95% of everything we think happens outside of our awareness. So
Which
that's
is the
where the
subconscious. Right. It's that subconscious mind. All of our thoughts and beliefs. You're looking at it. When you look on the world, there it is.
there it is,
Everything
right.
that's anger, that triggers you, that's angry, hateful, judgmental, that's your subconscious mind in form. Now, it's the outside picture of an inward condition.
Yes.
Right.
But we
So,
think, oh, it's them.
yep.
No, honey.
All right.
No, honey, it's you,
It's
it's
coming
me,
from you, not at you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we
Sean,
could
thank
go
you.
on and on for this. So
We really could.
maybe we can do some more interviews, and with some more, get inspired ideas and thoughts that come up between us. Let's do this again. Or any of those out there that are watching this, and people that would be really good to interview for something like this, please let me know. And we need to share our experiences with each other. Let everybody know that we're not alone in
We
all
are
this.
not
So,
alone.
anyway, so everyone, just pay attention, and most of all, be kind to each other. We need our kindness right now, and we need to share that, our kindness, with each other. So, have a great day, and we'll be doing some more interviews and sharing some more stuff with you at another time. So have a great
Stay
day.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.